Our next speaker is Yandri Barnard. She is a dedicated dietitian specializing in both adult and pediatric care. She has been in private practice in KwaZulu-Natal for over 14 years. Following her community service here at Newcastle Provincial Hospital, Yandri holds a master's in science for dietetics from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, where she graduated in 2016. She is currently pursuing her PhD in dietetics. Her research has been presented at national and international congresses, supported by a research fellowship at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. Sorry. Yandri consults patients both in hospital and at clinics in northern KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga, as well as online. She is a contributing health writer for various publications and has received numerous awards for her articles. Yandri is actively involved in professional organizations, including the Allergy Association of South Africa Dietetics Committee, a SCOPE accredited member for the World Obesity Federation, the South African Society of Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition, and the European Society of Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition. She has also assisted with nutritional classes at the University of Pretoria's Employee Wellness Program. Despite being diagnosed with lower back pain and sciatica nerve inflammation during COVID-19, Yandri manages her condition through an anti-inflammatory diet, yoga, and tapestry as relaxation from her day-to-day work. Yandri, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to what you will be sharing with us today.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I've just started sharing the screen. Let me just open for us. Good. Please let me know if anyone can't hear me or if the sound is not loud enough. So thank you for that introduction. Yes, I work from KwaZulu-Natal, but also online. And I hope I can tell you a bit more about with the anti-inflammatory diet. And I've tried to make it simple, to make it more approachable, and that you can actually incorporate it into your daily living as well. So firstly saying that remember that there may be variations out there on this diet, and it is also changeable per individual preferences, being disease specific. I have a lot of doctors that refer patients to me with gastric problems, with gout, even that we put on anti-inflammatory diets. So it's not only muscular conditions or for pain that we use it for. So, but also I look at food availability in your area, what you can buy. I know I don't live in the city like in Joburg or Cape Town, and we don't have all the foods always available, all the fancy stuff. So I want you to be able to use stuff that's in your cupboards, that's available close by. And also, again, affordability, because yes, prices are increasing at the moment. So we do need to look at things that's still affordable for us. And the food and meals must be simple to prepare, still satisfying to eat. And it must support our bodies in this healing process. And especially that most of you know, as it's a chronic conditions, we need to invest in long-term health and vitality, as inflammation can just hijack our feelings of well-being, slow down our quality of life. But we've seen this morning already with some simple exercises and things, what we can do to even just improve it a little bit for everyday health. I'm just going to touch a little bit on going back on the gut, because as we've seen, the gut also, it influences pain, it influences our whole body. So I'm just putting here, imagining a garden hose. Okay, so just thinking of it. So when in a good condition, water actually flows from one end of the hose to the other without leaking. And if the hose becomes damaged, so this means if piercing the walls of the hose to create a few holes, then no water flows seamlessly from one end to the other end. So due to this damage, water now leaks out of the holes. So it's basically the same with our guts and with our intestines and the whole system. So damage within our gastrointestinal tract can lead to gut permeability. So when the lining of your intestine is damaged, the food no longer flows seamlessly through, but instead food particles even leaks into your body. And then your immune system kicks into gear to remove these food particles. And then they don't, so that they can't cause any harm to the rest of your body. So that's why it's very important to also restore the balance of healthy bacteria within the gut and regulate the immune system to respond to this, because in the end, this will also assist with inflammation. But we will look at the foods to this a bit more in detail as well. I'm just touching on a few of the lifestyle factors to also support your diet. We've done in depth this morning about sleep and relaxation. So I'm just looking at the importance of, remember, sleep to give your body enough time to rest. And this is also to restore hormone levels, recharge your brain, muscles, organs. And we said aim for minimum of 7 hours, but we heard this morning there's a few of you that actually makes it to 9 hours, even 12 hours of sleep. So also stress management. Chronic stress, as we all know, have a negative consequence on the body, and that's where we need to do steps to cope with it, and we all need to do it in a different way. So all of that, taking a walk, spending time with friends, even if it's something online like today, that you feel like you're not alone out there. Meditating, keeping a thought journal. I like to do tapestry work or any handcrafts that you can also do. Yes, Dane, I see you've got your hand up. I just want to...
Sorry, I think the presentation style with your face and then the notes next to each other is making the notes a bit small. Is
Okay,
it possible to try a different presentation style?
Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing it for a moment and then share it again.
Okay, thank you. Henry, is that a Bokke shirt that you're wearing?
Excuse me?
Is it a Bokke shirt?
No, unfortunately not today yet.
I just saw the yellow collar and I was like, is that Bokke? I was so excited.
We don't have any sunshine with us today here in Natal. So we always have to do some bright sunshine or bright colors. I always say, especially Mondays when we don't feel our best, wear your favorite color, wear it so that you can feel your best. And of course, we must support the box, hey? We must try with them.
Definitely. Thank you so much for making it a bit bigger. We can see much better.
Okay, no, that's fine because I can't see the bigger screen with it. Also, like what we had with a nice demonstration is with exercise and different types of exercise. And as I was just speaking about it, sunlight exposure. We don't have any sunlight today here, or very little where I'm sitting from. So it is still otherwise to get your vitamin D in, firstly from sunshine, but then otherwise from food sources. So that means from cheese, butter, fortified milk, fortified cereals, or all your dried cereals are fortified as well. So think of it, and that we need to get that in extra. Now I'll stop here. Okay. I think it just went on my one slide now opened. So just give me a moment. I'm just going to go out again.
Yandri, if you've clicked on something else like the chat, then you just need to click back on your screen and then you can scroll again. That's what I realized with my slide presentation.
Well, okay, there it is. Problem solved. So, wait. But I wanted to actually ask people a bit of a question now. And the question is, how many fruits and vegetables do you actually eat a day? Because we remember with the aim, is there anything, Dane, will you have a look for me in the chat group a bit, because I can't see that completely. Is it at least one fruit and veg a day? Do you have 2 to 4 veg a day and fruits? Or is it only occasionally once a week? How often would you have fruit? How many fruits and vegetables would you have per day?
Okay, so we've got in the chat, someone saying not enough. Another one says 3 to 4. I said 7. Someone said 5. No fruit due to allergies. Vegetables only 1. That's hectic. I'm sorry, Michelle. And then 2 to 3 fruits. Someone else said, and 1 to 2 veg per day. So a smattering of different types of intake.
No. So especially someone like you, Michelle, if it's with allergies, that's understandable, but then you'll need to look for substitutes, especially in vegetables, so that you can get in your fruit, your vegetables, your vitamins, your nutrients in through it. So firstly, I'm just going to go through the main principles of the anti-inflammatory diet, and then I'll go more into detail which foods are better to eat, which ones are better to avoid on the lists of each food group as well. So just looking at firstly, it's important to eat more plants, meaning more fruits and vegetables, preferably fresh. Remember, we also look at, but also frozen if not available. 3 to 5 portions daily should be your aim. It needs to provide, remember, it provides fiber, it provides antioxidants, and also nutrients to support your optimal health. Even looking at this, remember, it's low-calorie foods, the fruit and vegetables mostly, and they combat cellular damage. They promote digestion and help maintain healthy weight range. And all of this also helps, again, to keep inflammation in check. Then to take in your whole grains daily. So think more about ancient grains, things that's not processed so much. So those are predating modern varieties that's created through selected breeding and hybridization. So things like oats, barley, chia seeds, your sorghum, your quinoa, bulgur wheat. So they also retain, they're high in fiber, they retain fiber better, and they also contain antioxidants, again promoting healthy immune response. So, but if whole grains are new to you, if you haven't incorporated it that much into your diet yet, I would suggest to start doing it by mixing it 50-50. Remember, otherwise you can get flatulence, you can feel uncomfortable if you eat too much fiber at once, and your body's not used to it as well. So things like mixing your white rice with brown rice in equal amounts when cooking it, mixing quinoa with couscous, eating whole wheat bread and white bread, even making a sandwich if you're making sandwich with 1 slice of whole wheat bread, 1 slice of white bread, and then slowly taking in more whole wheat foods and decreasing the refined fiber foods. Also looking at choosing healthy fats. So when you are plant-based, unsaturated fats, you should choose it rather over your pro-inflammatory trans fats and saturated fats, which come mostly from animal products. So these are better to support your immune system, and they are usually very rich in omega-3 fatty acids. These include walnuts, fatty fish, salmon, which I know we can't afford all. It's usually one of the more expensive products, but think of tuna, tin tuna even, pilchards, your sardines that's tinned, avocados, avocado oil, olive oil. And also avocados are luckily now a bit more in season, so it's also a bit more affordable. Then to looking at consuming less red meat, as red meat contains undesirable amounts of unhealthy fat. Even if you do remove the fat there, it is still fat in the meat. White meat, poultry, or even turkey, preferable. But it's better to remove the skin and fat of it, even before cooking. So sodium is added during the process of a lot of meats, especially processed meats, like Russians, Frankfurters, Vienna's, polony. So I know they're the quick fixes, but they're also the more unhealthy meats to rather avoid. Also looking at cooking methods, not to blacken meat. Oh, I know this is more like with all our favorite way of cooking, with having a braai, but remember it's more the blackened parts that have the compounds that can contribute to inflammation. So rather look at grilling rather than deep fry. Reducing processed foods. How many takeaways do you have a week? Is it once a week? Would you have takeaways twice a month only? Would you have it once a month? Less? Because I know especially it was more convenient, or we used the excuse with load shedding. So how does that look? You guys answer me or give me a bit of a response in the chat group.
Sorry, I was just on mute. Someone has said once a month. Someone said once a week. I'm also once a week. I'll put it here on the chat. Once a week. Then we've got 3 to 4 times a month. Fast once every 2 to 3 weeks when we're exhausted. That's the new parents. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag. What's your thoughts on that? Is it looking good, or is it a bit too much?
Okay, so remember most of our takeaway foods, the convenience foods, are highly processed foods. So they would usually be high in added sugars, refined grains, sodium, and fats. So that can also increase our risk of inflammation. But it's also not practical to say don't take any takeaways, because our lives unfortunately doesn't work like that. But I would rather suggest the type of takeaways you take. Rather take, if you're having even pizza, for example, which is not such a healthy takeaway, rather make a mixed salad for yourself with that, or even for the rest of the family. So then you'll also eat less of a pizza and have a mixed salad with it. If you're having burgers, skip the chips on it, and rather not have the fizzy drinks, having milkshakes or anything with that. If you're taking convenience foods from, let's say you're stopping at the garage shop or any place that's quick to get something, you want to get that muffins or donuts, rather leave that out, get the sandwich that's with the brown bread. It's a bit of a better choice to look out for. Look at if they've got some ready-made foods, if they've maybe got some grilled fish, grilled chicken with it, and even some vegetables with it. A lot of the supermarkets have that available for takeaway foods as well. So think of it in that terms. It's not that it's all takeaways are bad, but choosing the takeaways. That's a bit healthier for everyone in the family. Okay, and then also to keep some little, include nuts and seeds. And remember, this is of course if you're not allergic to it. Very important. So, but to include nuts and seeds in your diet. Things like it provides healthy fats and some extra protein, fills that gap when you're hungry. I always say make some extra small packets, buy bulk, make your own mixes, keep it at your desk, keep it in the car, keep it close by that you can just quickly grab onto that instead of going to the for the takeaway option, going for the fried chips, going for the Russians, going to eat those things that you can just fill up. So I also say ways to add it, nuts and seeds, add some pumpkin seeds to a salad for that extra crunch on top. Even add some sunflower seeds and walnuts to your oats. Add some sesame seeds to a chicken or stir fry mix when you're making it. And as I said, making your own nuts and seeds mix to snack on. Picking your own favorites of these healthy mixes and putting it together for family. Then again, we want our food to taste nice. So we still want to add some herbs and spices to it without adding too much salt to it. So so remember, fresh herbs is best, but otherwise dried herbs is also an option. Be careful of the preservatives also in dried herbs and spices. Remember, the herbs and spices needed to be to last longer on your shelves, but also if it doesn't contain it, it can become quickly contaminated. So that's why I say look out for maybe the fresh versions, having some plants in your windowsill, some basil, some turmeric, some rosemary, some parsley, having that to add to your cooking. And remember also your anti-inflammatory powerhouses, your turmeric, your ginger, your garlic, which you add to your food. And it also gives that lovely flavors to it as well. Then also now I'm getting back to the gut again. So we need to support our microbiomes in the gut. And the easiest way to do that is eating high fiber foods and fermented foods. So this again looks at your beans, your whole grains, your oats, your brown rice, and even to provide your fermented foods. This is more your yogurt, your kefir, pickles, even things like your sauerkraut. And that's also to keep that good bacteria in your digestive system balanced, and again to help fight inflammation with other diseases. I also recommend at my practice usually for patients to take probiotics daily. So any type, I'm not that specific on it, but if you take it even once a day, a minimum of a 4-strain probiotic, that can also assist with getting the good bacteria back in your system and helping your digestive system. Then again, to consume beverages to give you power, because remember, if we're hydrated, we're more energized. But then again, what we drink. So remember, plain water, it's better than having the store-bought flavored waters. They're usually very high in sugars. I found that most of them are actually higher in sugar content than your Cokes and Fantas and all those sugary carbonated drinks. So rather flavor your own water with slices of fruit or herbs, and have it if you need to give it some extra flavor for yourself. Decaf coffee is a better option, and even some rooibos or honeybush tea or green tea. So all of these got the antioxidant compounds to promote your resilience against cell damage again for your body. Okay, now we start looking at with your nutrition support. Looking at with the different food groups, I think they said, Dan, you guys said it will be available to them afterwards, but they're more than welcome if they want to take some photos of the slides as well for later reference as well with the foods. Or if they want to contact me for some more information on it. So with fruits and vegetables, I'm looking at it because we don't always like to say good and bad foods in nutrition. We like to rather say which foods that you can have less of, which food are better for you, and which are the best type. So we're looking at, even with fruits and vegetables, the good options, your conventional fruits and vegetables. But again, we're looking at then again utilizing rather the anti-inflammatory. I'm looking at the Dirty Dozen fruits and veg, and also which ones the 15 best ones list. But your best ones is seasonal fresh produce. Okay, so I'm just going to go on so long so that I'll come back to this table again, but I'm just going to show you with the fruit and vegetables. So this is the Dirty Dozen foods we refer to avoid. And yes, I know they seem to be a lot of them are the healthy foods we usually tell people to eat. These are the healthy ones, but remember again, for anti-inflammatory, it's a bit different again. And it's also individualized. A lot of people won't be eating it in any case, or they might even have diabetes with it and can't eat any high sugar foods. A lot of these fruit and vegetables you can even slowly reintroduce after you've excluded it from your diet as well.
Yandri, you're breaking my heart with this Dirty Dozen. Breaking my heart.
I'm
Like
sorry.
my favorite fruits. My favorite fruits. No. I agree that science and what is researched is better than our feelings. But I'm just mourning. I'm just mourning my love of grapes and peaches and nectarines. Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm a verbal processor. When I go through pain, I need to verbally process it.
You need to share it with everyone else as well. I saw there, I think it's Tanya that also said, whoa, no, that doesn't look so good to him. So remember, the main thing is, especially with going on with something like with an anti-inflammatory diet, is with excluding most of the foods for a period of at least 2 to 4 weeks. And then after that, you can actually slowly introduce it to see how it works for your body. And there's even some foods that's even more of a trigger food for you as well. Okay, so now again, looking at things that you can even include so that I can at least have some good news and things here.
Hallelujah.
So, citrus is ones that we look at in moderation, okay, because it can still be acidic. For some people, it's worse taking that in, and for others, their bodies tolerate it better. And I know especially this time of the year, we get it, it's very seasonal. We get a lot of oranges, we get lemons, we get grapefruit. So don't go and finish the whole bag. Then you will get a reaction to it. 1 to 2 per day. That's also, again, once again, with all of these foods, moderation. It's not like finishing all of them in one go. Now I'm just going to go back again to the table. So looking again with meat and poultry, we're looking more with antibiotic and hormone-free meats, which is also not so easy to always get because we kind of need to know where the meat comes from. Do you know your butcher? That it's rather more grass-fed and organic, pasture-raised meat. Because remember, even with milk, it depends what that cow has been taking in, what type of feed they've been getting. All of that in the end influences us eating that food. Seafood, again, same thing. Farm-raised seafood, not so great, but For us, that's not always a bit, we don't often have a different option. We usually have the canned or frozen types of seafood if we're having it. Here in South Africa, it's very scarce to get your local sustainable wild caught seafood, as we're not really specializing it in that in South Africa. Fats, being careful of especially your conventional ghee, which is sold at supermarkets, at shops, rather looking at things like your olive oils. Even a little bit of coconut oil, I don't always promote it, but you can also add that. Your avocado oil is also a very good option to use. Sweeteners, be careful even of sweeteners of unrefined cane sugar. Using some, it's better to use some honey, maple syrup, but with the conventional honeys, also make sure where it comes from, because a lot of them do contain added glucose, added sugars as well. Raw honey is always also a better option.
Yeah, Andrea, I have to mention that the ghee thing. Thanks for clarifying, because it's my little joke for the day. Just
Oh, no, that's good.
thank you. You can continue. My joke is done. My lame joke is done.
Okay, your verbal time sharing. Okay, so here I'm also having a look for you, just a bit more foods to recommend and foods to avoid as well, looking at it. So remember again, avoiding, it's quite a strong word, but it doesn't mean you're taking it out completely with your diet, because that's also not possible. Sometimes if you're staying on your own, you can do that, you can control your diet, but if you're in a family setting, you're staying with someone else, you're living with other people, it's not always possible. It's not always available like that. So bear that in mind as well, if you look at the list as well. Because a lot of it also looking with your milk, looking at more your alternative milk alternatives, but looking at your rice milks, your almond, your coconut, your oat milks. But again, then your almond milks need to be unsweetened. You still need to include your yogurt. If you're using milk, rather use a low-fat milk than your full cream milk if you're using cow's milk. If you feel then I still have a bit of a reaction to it, don't firstly go drastic to your alternatives. Firstly, try your lactose-free milks and then start switching over to the other products. Also, again, what I said with the meats, looking at with it being more free range, wild caught, not always possible. Eggs, being careful of it. Also, again, there we don't know where the feeds. If you know the type of feeds, if it's only grain-fed eggs, it's a better option for you. So looking at that as well, because again, what that animal has been fed, it comes through again in the food. It will affect us with inflammation. Again, looking at with your legumes, your nuts, your seeds, I always recommend also your canned beans. So the ones that's tinned, lentils as well, because it's just a shortcut. None of us really have time. If you've got, please do it. Use your dried beans and lentils, soak it, then cook it. But I know that we rather use if we're doing in a slow cooker, if you're making some soup, some stews, something for the winter months. But otherwise, I would recommend just for quick adding in, using your canned beans, using your lentils. You can add that to salads, add that to even to your mincemeat if you're making it. It adds that extra fiber, it bulks it out for you as well. But again, I'm looking more at the fibers of it as well, the fiber that will be beneficial for your gut health. Yeah, Dane, I see you saying you're going to start hunting and fishing now. I know some of the people will probably be able to do that up there in Eastern Cape, Northern Cape side, but I'm not so sure you there in Joburg side where you're going to start with it, hey?
Yeah, I'm gonna fish in the Yuxkay.
Oh, okay, but the Fall River, hey, when it's coming down now, so you must just do a bit of a drive now, and I think you can do a bit of fishing now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go hunt at Klippersrus Nature Reserve. There's zebra and springbok. I'm just gonna skip them there and then just quickly you guys are gonna help us hide the body, and then we'll go back and get the zebra meat and the springbok meat.
Yeah, and probably if you're in any trouble, you're going to say the dietitian told me to do it.
Yeah, this dietitian from Newcastle, she's the
Yeah,
one.
she told me to do it. So looking again with your whole grains and bread, so looking at things that's not so refined, even with flour as well. If you're baking your own bread or buying sourdough bread, your ciabattas, your rye breads, it's always a better option as well. Especially that we're having a lot of bakeries now that bakes it. I know at the supermarkets, they even have it available now as well. Maize meal, remember the ones we get in shops is super fine, so it's very refined. You do get its better options, your braai pap, or you get ones with added fiber into it. Those ones are better options to eat as they do have that added fiber in them as well. Again, looking at with fruits, rather that it's your fresh, unsweetened, dried, frozen fruits, even your frozen fruits that you'll use more if you're making a smoothie. If it's canned fruit, rather opt for the ones in fruit juice than in syrup. And here you'll see again, I put for you with oranges and orange juice. But orange juice, specifically the ones that you buy in the shops. Because remember, those ones, they've got added sugars to it, like fruit sugars, like other juices, your even your 100% juices. Be very careful of it, of the extra sugars added in it. Rather make your own juice that you know what fruit comes into it, that it's only fruit that's added to it. Even your jams that you eat. A lot of the jams, or 90% of them, do contain extra sugar. It's part of a preservative process. But there is some jams that you get, it's specifically more for diabetics, but that you can also eat that says no sugar added. It's a bit more of a soury taste, if I can put it, but it's not as sweet as you'll be used to, but it will be a better option to use as well. Now we're looking with the vegetables. So vegetables, now we're getting a bit more complicated here. So it's better to have your non-nightshade vegetables and unsweetened vegetable juices if you're making directly juice from vegetables, and to avoid things like your corn, which is more processed ones, and your nightshade vegetables. Okay, so let's have a look here with nightshade. Okay. So nightshade vegetables, a lot of them are healthy ones, which we'd usually think is the healthy vegetables. But unfortunately, they promote a lot of inflammation in the body usually as well. So that's why here is a bit of a substitute of inflammation. So firstly, looking at, for example, with the tomatoes and what you can substitute it with carrots, with beetroot, for example. Looking at even substituting your chili and bell peppers, be careful of that, and okra, and substituting it more with the celeries. Looking at with rather having blueberries there. Looking at having your mushrooms rather than eggplants. Again here with the spices, which I just talked about, rather excluding your curry, your cayenne pepper, your chili, your paprikas, rather having the ginger, having the garlic, even if it's in powder form, having your green onions, changing over to your cauliflower, your yams, your pumpkins as well. Looking again just here with the sugar, sweetness, so small amounts. I'm not recommending starting eating a lot, but we all do have that sweet tooth. So rather looking at the options of having your raw honey, having fruit sweetness, having stevia, and decreasing your corn syrup, your glucose, your sucrose. If you do have that sweet tooth, I always say rather having it in a small amount if you're craving for it than excluding it completely for a long time. Because then usually if you feel like that piece of cake or you feel like that chocolate, you'll be like wanting 5 different substitutes for it, taking in more calories, more sugars in the end, and then rather just having that a small portion, having half a slice of cake, having that, especially if it's a birthday, it's a function at the office, something that happens, it's a family gathering. That you don't need to exclude completely, but having a small piece, dishing up for yourself. If you buy some of the jelly sweets, I always say buy the smallest packets, then you can rather eat from, you can control your portion size that you're having and not open the big packets. Same thing with anything. Remember chips, even if you're opening a packet of nuts, if you're having a big packet, you're going to open it, you want to finish it. So rather having for yourself that small packets or then to make it into smaller packets. Your oils and fats is olive and cold pressed oils, your avocado and avocado oils, again avoiding your fried foods, other seasonings here, even a little bit of apple cider vinegar, your garlics, your onions, chives to add that. And also again being careful with all your pre-packaged sauces because we do have added MSGs, added preservatives to it as well. Again, like we just spoke about with the water, looking more your plain water, unsweetened tea and coffee, especially your decaf coffee, herbal teas, being very careful of your sports drinks to avoid those ones high in sugar, even mixed alcoholic beverages and your alcohol. Okay, and to look at ending off, I've got included for you a bit of a avocado mayonnaise, something that you can make for a recipe at home, something simple there that you can even use as a dip, you can make it as a spread, you can make it in advance, you can store it as well in an ice cube, making those smaller amounts for you. So with some avocado, some cider vinegar, olive oil, lemon juice, and salt. So that's just a basic recipe. Then even having the garlic herb avocado mayo. And remember that you can add even on your bread, you can add that. Having that with even your salad as a wasabi avocado mayo. That sometimes even work with some grilled fish with some ginger added. The tartar sauce avocado mayo, just adding a few other ingredients, and then you can even have a lovely dip sauce at home as well. And having it even as a dip with your other vegetables, you can eat that as a snack. Okay, so I hope you guys took a bit of a screenshot there. You can go and make it yourself, especially that avocados are in season. So, but otherwise, you are more than welcome to contact me for if you need some added information, a virtual consultation, some eating plans, and I've even got some anti-inflammatory recipe booklets that you can try out for yourself, some more recipes at home as well.